All right, good evening and welcome back to another episode of Seeing Light Through Darkness. I'm your host, Kylan, better known as Kai. And again, I have with me this evening is the lovely Miss Monisha, aka
Good
Mo.
evening.
And before we get in again, get into this episode, Mo, I just want to remind our listeners again that they can follow this podcast, Seeing Light Through Darkness, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. So just look for Seeing Light Through Darkness by My Mental Space. And you can also find us on Facebook at My Mental Space, as well as Instagram and Twitter. And My Mental Space at My Mental Space 21. That's the numbers 2 and 1. And last but not least, on YouTube at My Mental Space. And as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can get the latest content. All right, Mo. So we have been at this series of our story time, Breaking Points Exposed. And we will be wrapping it up this evening. I think we did this will be number 4 with this series. So we will be wrapping it up this evening and moving on to some fresh new content after this evening. So our last conversation, I think we left off, I was talking about, me at the time I was 22, and I started dealing with the 30-year-old. And, I spoke about me finding out that he was married and I didn't know, but it was just too hard to pull away at that time. And then over time, I spoke about meeting his best friend who is, we became really good friends. And it's actually our relationship, the dynamic of it was more like a sister, she was like an older sister to me. And he ended up, it was one day he just left town. I think I left off with him just leaving town, and her just telling me basically, go ahead, move on. And some time had passed there, and we ended up living in the same apartment complex. And another friend of his, who I was friends with too as well, he stayed in the apartment complex across from us. And during that time, I ended up having a 25th birthday party. No, I was turning 24. I'm sorry. I believe I was turning 24 at the time. 23 or 24, I can't remember. But it was a birthday party that I had with a friend at that time. We had the same exact birthday. And we threw ourselves a birthday party at the club. We actually threw ourselves a Halloween themed birthday party, because birthday is October the 19th. So, going into Halloween. So everybody had on costumes and it was fun. And his best friend, who was at that point had been my friend for a couple of years, and she had given me a letter. He had wrote a letter to me but sent it through her, and she was just like, I didn't want to give this to you, but I'm gonna give it to you. And during some downtime after the party, everybody was leaving, kind of wrapping up, packing it up. I actually, I can't remember if I read some of the letter or if I waited until I got home. I know I waited until I got home I read over it again at that point. But I'm not sure if I opened it at the club or not. But anyway, so we were, so that happened. And from there, him and I had started back talking, on the phone. And then I started flying out there. I think he had went to Ohio at the time, and of course I was still here in Georgia, in Atlanta. And my thing was, okay, you want to see me, you gonna pay, for my flight. So I don't care how much it costs. I don't care if it's $10. And so I was going out there, and again, at that time I'm 24, so still young, and dealing with that. And then the year of 2000, let me see, shortly after that, I remember, or not too much longer after that, 4th of July had come around. And I remember, at that time, I just had one child. And I remember that morning, we got up early that morning, to eat breakfast and get her out, because we had to do a 4th of July parade. I was helping my father with that. And at the time, he was a youth pastor. Okay, he wasn't a senior pastor at that time. He was a youth pastor working with the youth. And I was helping him, with the parade and everything. So we did that out at Stone Mountain, had a good little time. We was there all day. So we didn't get home until it was 7, 8 o'clock at that point. And I get a phone call, and of course it is my now husband. He called. Now, mind you, this was my middle school sweetheart. And he calls. I don't know how he got my number. Well, we had mutual friends at the time, so that's how. And he kind of, kept in contact, Mo, during that time. During that time, over the years. So I may have heard from him once a year and a half, or something like that. It was a lot of, a good amount of space, but you're not like, okay, yeah, not really studying it or whatever. And I've moved on. But he called out the blue, right? So
just the fact that y'all had known each other from middle school and he called, okay. That right there, just wow. Okay.
He calls, and I'm like, hey, what's up? Da 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 da. He was like, just coming through, and he was with his brother. We had all known each other, like I said, back in the day. And so they were together out that night, and so basically it ended up, he's coming through. He was like, okay, just send me your address. I'll come through, see what's up, holler at you, da da da. And I was kind of skeptical, but not like, oh, I got this. Because even though we had not been around each other like that since we were pretty much 13 and 14 years old, I still felt like I knew what type of person he was, because at the end of the day, he was like my best boyfriend ever. Like, ever, even as an adult, anybody I've dealt with, because of the type of person, he is. And, he did break my heart back then, because he, going through whatever, and he had moved away. But, he, at that time, think about it, a 14-year-old boy, he's still 14. He might be a good boy, a good person, but he doesn't know how to communicate like that on that level. So it was just, he was mad, didn't want to move, and he ghosted me, basically. He pretty much ghosted me. And I would talk to I had a relationship with his friends that stayed in the same neighborhood. They all lived in the neighborhood, played together, was real tight and close. And I would talk to them on the phone a lot. And they would be like, just consoling me, because of the type of person he was, it was like his friends, the company he kept, they were decent men too. And like now, like me seeing them now and stuff, like they have families, they do, and which I expected that from them. But they would like try to console me and be like, I don't, just, they didn't talk. I mean, they were kind of trying to enlighten me about things, but at the same time, I really don't know if they actually knew exactly what was going on with him or not, but they were just doing their best to trying to stay loyal to their friend and at the same time console my feelings, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And be a friend to me at the same time. So,
right.
And they know, if they hear this, they know who I'm talking about. Y'all, you know who you are. But anyway, so, and it was 2 of them. It wasn't just one. Both of them were doing that. And I really appreciate that. Like, as an adult, I'm just thinking about, wow, like, even being so young, they were so young, and they, in that moment, they acted so maturely. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, okay. So going back to that night, like I said, I was a little skeptical because, I mentioned before, I didn't want to have too many people around. My daughter, she's 4, I think, and or something like that. And it's like, 4 or 5, and I'm like, okay, I know him, but
I don't know him.
Yeah, it's like, but okay, she's gonna be in a room. I'm, just having little company friends, because she was used to me having a lot of friends, and just, remember I told you I was having dinner parties at my apartment with my close friends. Remember I was telling you all about half of us was from Atlanta and the other half was from New York, and we would just have good, clean fun, and she knew them. They were like her family, you know what I mean? And that's how they treated. She had a whole bunch of aunts and uncles, so I kind of kept it like that. That's what she was used to. The only person she did see me with, other than her dad, having that long history with her father, was the 30-year-old. She eventually, eventually, you know what I'm saying? But after that, even though he was still coming into my life, with that letter, and I was doing what I was doing, he wasn't coming into my house. He wasn't at my apartment. I had kind of was like, what? Let me kind of, I had that much sense. You know what I mean? Let me kind of back a little bit. Let me back a little bit, right? And so that was my main focus. So I was like, okay, then come on, whatever. She gonna be in room. She's gonna be asleep because she had a full day anyway. She's gonna fall asleep with that TV on. She ain't being real active right now. She been up since 6 o'clock in the morning, and she's 4. Like, she's getting ready to be out.
Yeah, she's tired.
Right. And I'll just close the door, check on her, but we gonna stay, in the front room, the 3 of us. Let's talk, let's reminisce, let's kick it back in the day, what was going on in the 90s. You know what I mean? Let's talk.
That's funny.
So he, they come over, him and his brother, we talking, we just talking about back in the day, and talking about our relationship back then, and you could anybody else that was around could see and probably feel the connection between him and I. And we just talked or whatever. And so they ended up leaving, but I was still dealing with old bruh. The older guy, on that level.
Oh, man.
The sir. Oh, I like that. Let's call him the sir. We can give him that much respect, right? Let's call him the sir. And so when I was dealing with the sir, thank you, Mo. When I was dealing with the sir, I was still dealing with the sir. And, me and well, I could say my husband's name, Ryan. Me and my husband, Ryan, current husband now. Well, like I said, current, like I've been married before. I ain't been married before, but my now husband, Ryan, you know, he we were just on that talking stages, you know what I mean? I was still doing whatever, but it was, you know, it was coming to that point where we were talking all the time, and I was actually confiding in him as my best friend. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And just telling him what was going on with me and Sir and another guy actually. But I think with that, we were more friends because, you know, he was from New York and I went there for a week, you know, hanging out with him, meeting some other friends of his or whatever. But just confiding in Brian, you know, what was going on in my life and him doing the same. And then it just got to the point where our relationship, like it was like now we're speaking every single day. And it went from every single day to sun up, sun down. Like, couldn't put the phone down. That's how it was. That's how it was. And it get like that now, sometimes now. I could be at home and he out and we on the phone. We just on the phone. So I think that's just our thing. And I think a lot of other relationships are like that too. We just be on the phone. And so just talking. And so with me and Sir, that had started to fizzle out. Me flying to Ohio to visit and things like that. That started to fizzle out. And I really don't remember how we stopped talking, but before we did, during the fizzle out stage, okay. So let me back up a little bit. So when Brian and I started talking, every day, sun up, sun down like that, eventually, you know, and I would go to, I'm gonna call her sister friend, which is Sir's best friend. Sister friend, because I want to keep her, you know, I want to keep people, you know, confidential as much as possible. With me and sister friend were living in the same apartment. She was in the next building, like behind me. Okay. So I could either walk or drive, either way. She was just around the corner on the building on the back. So I remember whenever I would go to her apartment from mine, I'm over there because I used to spend a lot of time over there too. I mean, shit, like we're in the same complex now, girl, you know? So I'm over there, and it would be like where I would have him on the phone, and I'm over there. And I remember we actually just came to. It ended up to where we just said, okay, we just said we're gonna try this thing again as adults, and we were like, okay, so we're in agreement that we're in a relationship. So we did that, and which was a few days before my birthday. And so that happened. So we made it official, the relationship official. And at that point, you know, like I said, the whole Sir thing had kind of fizzled on down because now I'm entering in a real relationship again, you know, after a few years, you know, from dealing with her dad and stuff. And so I don't remember. Okay, so at this time, Brian was in Texas. He was living in Texas because his you know, his mother had moved there for work, and you know, she was just on a journey and you know, just doing her thing or whatever. And he was on his, he's young, he's like, okay, what do I want, and we hadn't gotten in a relationship. He was already living in Texas. They had already moved to Texas before us getting into a relationship. And so that's where most of why we were on the phone a lot, because he wasn't in Georgia anymore. And so so at that point, he's like, I think now the holidays are approaching, right? And so I go up there and before New Year's. I said, okay, we'll spend New Year's together. So I was like, we'll go there. So I went up there and spent New Year's and stayed close to a week. And we talked, and let's just say, when I went up there, it was a one-way ticket.
Oh, wow.
And me, him, and our oldest son, because I had a daughter and he had a son. So it was me, him, and our oldest son. We were backed up his car with all their stuff that they was taking. And the three of us was heading back to Georgia from Texas to just start our family.
Oh, wow.
And
that's brave.
I know, like, it was, but I remember being so happy, right? I was so freaking happy. And mind you, now I'm about to hit y'all with this, because not only, do y'all remember, if you don't remember, I mentioned taking him to court. I mentioned taking the father of my oldest child to court. And remember I said I kind of got in his face and kind of threatened him real silently in front of the police officer and everything. They didn't say anything to me. They just kind of was looking, And I told you he wasn't by himself. He had somebody with him talking. She was trying to talk mess. I overheard her and she was trying to talk loud, but I ignored her. She kind of, she started to realize, like, wait, she ain't even like that. Like, wait, this ain't no. And things started to take a turn. I don't know how she got my number. Oh, because he was starting drama. He was trying to start drama between us. And she figured out on her own, like, wait. She woke up. Let me just say that. She woke up as far as me. And she started treating me totally different. I'm talking about, she just started treating me with the respect that she felt like I deserved. Because she started reading in between the lines, like, hold on, something's not adding up. And us, so let me go back to us leaving from Texas on the road back to Georgia. She was actually one of the people I was communicating with during this time of travel and whatever. And I was just expressing to her how happy I was, with and whatever. And she was just like, oh my God, like, I'm so glad you happy. And I mean, like, the script just flipped. You hear me?
Right.
Right. Like, she was somebody I was expressing to that I was just so happy. And so, okay. So we in Georgia. Things are going well. And, it was like our family was, as soon as my daughter saw him in person, it was just like love at first sight for her.
Mm-hmm.
Because even before them moving, joining me and her as a family, it was like she took to him. She grew her relationship through the phone. You remember I said when she asked to speak to him, I'm like, what? What? And it was just like, you know, it just started from there. But going into it not too long, mind you, I have challenges with, you know, my anxiety being flared up from OCD and, you know, just dealing with that. And, you know, we tend to throw OCD around like, oh, girl, you got OCD. And I get it. I get it. But in some instances, Mo, I kind of get triggered sometimes when I hear that term being thrown around, because people who really have OCD, who really, I don't like to use the word suffer, but have that challenge, it brings on anxiety, and it's like impulses you can't control. It's like all you can do is focus on, this is not in this right place, this is dirty, I can't like people who don't deal with it really don't understand how that can ruin your life. You know what I mean? And me just living by myself with a girl, I'm just, you know, not even a child, a girl. I'm used to everything being in its place, right? It's just me and her. The apartment is clean. You know, I was always into decorating, and, you know, that's just been one of my things, knowing how to style and put things together, decorate, and all that kind of stuff. And everything just stayed clean. We didn't have to do anything, but I mean, my cleaning was just, okay, it's time to just vacuum the floor or dust. You know, I didn't have dishes or stuff sitting on the counter, or, you know, it was just stuff I could handle. But girl,
introduce somebody else to.
Oh my God! Not
space.
Mo, what you mean, girl? Don't. Oh my God! Not only is it introducing somebody else to my space, but Lord and behold, not only is it a man, but the man got a child, and the child is a boy. And I'm like, oh my God. Girl, I went from being so happy and in bliss to, what have I gotten myself into? Girl.
The reality came.
I love him to death, but I got to speak on it. This dude had the nerve. I caught him. He had gotten something out the refrigerator and drank from the bottle. I said, oh, hell no.
You can have that. I don't want no more.
Girl, I said, and to be honest with you, you know, it was enough to leave it in the thing, you know, to leave it in the container in the refrigerator. Because you know how sometimes people can be so lazy. You be like, you should have just poured all of that in the cup. Why would you put that little bit back in the refrigerator? Like, oh my God, why? So it wasn't a whole lot in there, but it was enough to put back in the refrigerator. But girl, he drank from it. And I said, you know what? This is about to be all she wrote, because I can't. When I saw that, I literally said, oh, hell no. And I went off. I'm talking about relationship about to be over. Yes, over this carton. Relationship is getting ready to be over. Love is dead. Everything is gone. I can't. Girl, I'm not exaggerating. Like we are having we having fun with this. But Mo, when I tell you I was done. I was done. I know this little 20-something-year-old man, and when I look back, really young man, I'm not going to say boy, young man, are you kidding me? It was over. And so I think Sir had called me or something, because I didn't call him. And I'm not going to lie, the feeling was, it was like it was trying to creep back in. And that wasn't nothing but the devil. Because he knew what was about to go down in this union over here. You know?
Yeah.
And I told him. I did. I told Sir. I was like, I can't deal with. I was telling him this. Yes. I was complaining to Sir about my other half. Like, I can't do this. I don't want to, whatever. And we was still, I was like, you know what? I'm about to call it off. I was getting ready to call it off and go back into dealing with Sir, trying to figure out how to get a whole relationship, and all that started to come up. Like, it did. And I'm just being honest. And it was happening. Let's see how long it worked. How long was this going on? And even me talking about it now and thinking about it now, I'm feeling so just wrong. Because again, these are things that I just swept under the rug and was trying to cover it up. Remember? You remember me? I'm the Olivia Pope for myself. You know, I was covering it up. You know, that was in the midst of it too. You know, I had done that. I just never talked about it out loud. Like I you know, I just feel so bad about it now because I'm acknowledging it. You know, I never thought about it. I never looked at it how I'm looking at it now. Like, dog, like, what if he was doing that to me? Like, what if, you know? But, you know, this is reality. This is real. This is what happened. But during that time, we was planning like, okay, he was again going into that same karmic cycle. Oh yeah, because he was telling me, I mean, girl, that him and that ma'am, we gonna call her ma'am. Sir and his ma'am was going through it. I mean, he was telling me stuff. I was like, dang, y'all are wilding. Y'all are wilding out. Like, y'all are bad for each other. So I'm like, well, y'all going through that. You leaving. I don't want to deal with this. He drinking out of, you know, bottles. You know, I can't deal with that. That's a deal breaker. Let's try to see how we can get me and you back together. That's where I was at.
I get it.
That's where we were at, Mo.
I get it.
And
I get it.
One day, girl, I said something, and I remember sitting in the car. I remember what I was doing when this happened. I was sitting in the car. And at the end of the day, Sir taught me some things. He taught me some things. He really taught me some things. You know, it does not excuse, you know, what he put me through, you know, him contributing. He didn't have a gun to my head or anything. No, he didn't. But let's get real. The stuff that people put us through, we go through, you know, a lot of time, you know, some people, yes, have literally had guns put to their head. Yes. I'm not discrediting that. But in general speaking, when people take us through stuff and we go, you know, they don't have a gun, literally have a gun pointed to our head, but it's like you still have to be held accountable for your actions, you know, your words or whatever it is that made me feel like that, your deceit, you know, you not coming forward with things. So, you know, I thank him because it taught me some things. And sitting in that car that day, I think I said something about it. Something about my situation. And his response to me was, well, do you think you're scared in your situation because you finally have what you've been wanting?
Okay. Hit him with the reality.
He really said that. Which was a family, you know, growing my family, being married and all that. And I remember getting silent. I don't remember the whole conversation. I don't remember how it ended, but that's all I remember because that stuck with me. You know? And I remember taking it in and like, wait, is it? And when he said that, I started going back to when I had some downtime for myself, you know, getting away from her dad, getting Sir away from me for a little while, you know, before we linked back, before that link up happened again, and before Brian came back into my life. I remember praying for God to send me a partner, you know, that wanted the same things I wanted out of life for the most part, you know, in general, you know, our outlook on life was the same. And for him to send me my best friend, I was like, I want a friend like my husband to be my friend. At the end of the day, forget about this marriage. What do we have? What would we have if we weren't married? Like, let's look at it. You know, Are we friends? Are we confidants? Are we road dogs? Can we sit and have that conversation and be laughing and giggling like, look at that mess right there? You know what I'm saying? You know that clean gossip. Clean gossip. Yeah. Just some clean, fun gossip. That's all. You know what I mean? And when I say clean gossip, I mean not sitting back judging people, you know, at the end of the day. But I remember praying so hard about that. And I said, wow, wait a minute. I think I was running from that. And at the end of the day, I'm trying to throw all of this away over a doggone juice carton.
Yeah.
A juice carton? And
took a step back for a second.
Yes. And I'm like, oh my God. And I don't remember what happened after that. I was back in that relationship, obviously. I was back in that relationship.
It was bad.
Yeah.
Reality had to come back.
Right.
I get it.
Okay. And so maybe a year after us, you know, being together, because we, you know, Was it a year? Yeah, after a year of us being together, or maybe not even a year, to be honest with you. It wasn't a year. It wasn't a year.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, it wasn't. Maybe half of a year, and I ended up getting pregnant. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
I remember talking to my coworker about it first. I hadn't told anybody. And the reason why I was talking to my coworker, because at a job, it would just be me and her all the time. And, you got a lot of time to get to know each other, talk. You're not dealing with customers right then. Y'all just talking.
All right.
And it's me, and I actually miss her. Like, now that I'm thinking about her, I wonder what she's doing and how she is. And I just loved it talking to her, because we had different backgrounds. I mean, I'm African American, she's Caucasian, but we had a lot in common. And just learning about her background and what she, her family, her journey up until that point, my journey, just learning how to have respect for each other's culture and family background. I mean, it was just, we had a lot in common. And I remember talking to her, and I'm like, I think she asked me if I was pregnant, because I was telling her how I wasn't feeling well. And so I don't know if I was telling her, it might have been a little bit of both, me telling her I think, and her saying I think, why don't you, test,
Right.
And I remember doing that, and girl found out I was, and I think that's why she was the first person I confided in. And then it went to family. It wasn't like I was just telling a whole bunch of people before family, but I mean, she was right there with me. She's seeing me sick, so that's how that came about. And when I found out, I was already over 2 months. Right. So I'm getting nauseous. I'm going to the third month, and now I want to get nauseous.
Right.
So, that happened, and I ended up having him early as well. He was due to come May 24th, which was my mother's birthday, and he ended up coming on my father's birthday, February the 27th. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, here we go again, having my daughter early, going through that premature. So I was kind of used to it. So I wasn't really afraid, but it was like, here we go again. I didn't want this to happen. And so we were dealing with that. He was, going strong, getting big, and nothing was wrong medically, but he just needed to be in an incubator and cook a little more. No kind of health problems, nothing, no health problems, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in school getting because I had my associate's degree, but now I'm in school getting my bachelor's, right?
Mm-hmm.
Getting my bachelor's, because remember, I had to kind of pace myself from being a young mom and working whatever. So I just did what I could. So now I'm working towards getting my bachelor's. So I had a child. My child, our child's in the hospital. I'm in school trying to finish that. I don't think I was working. No, I took some time off because, getting myself together for, the pregnancy, because I had to go on bed rest. And, yes, had to deal with all of that. And so I remember getting a call. We got a call saying, just out of the blue, at night, we need to come up to the hospital. We were just there earlier that day, but now at night, now we need to go. I called my dad, because again, my dad was the one who, when I came out the womb growing up, my dad was like the perfect father. You know, and I know I kind of mentioned little spits of him not playing the part in my life like I needed him to, you know. But, you know, back then, all I cared about was whatever I get from my dad, that's just what I'm going to get and I'm going to hang on to. And that's where my mind was still, you know, at that time. So I'm calling him because at the end of the day, my dad can save the day. Okay? Get there, everybody is looking like they don't understand what happened. Like we are, like he was healthy. Yes, he's premature, but he was a healthy premature, you know. They had the neurosurgeon come by there, the what do you call it? Cardiologist. Nobody could find anything, nothing. And I just remember passing out, Mo. I just remember my legs just gave out on me. I just felt weak. I just fell down and they grabbed me and they put us in this room. So it was me, Brian, and my dad, you know, in the room that they had in there. It actually had a bed, I guess, for if somebody sleeps over, probably one of the doctors, a parent, somebody, I don't know, that they had in there in the NICU, ICU. They put us in there and it was like a waiting game. Is our son gonna live or die? Like that was the worst. And of course he passed. And I'm like, you know, what did I do? At that point, it's like, what did I do to deserve this? And I'm saying me because I'm the one who was carrying, and I just felt, you know, like I was mad at myself. And then in my mind, I'm like, why didn't my dad fix this for me? Like, dog, like, you know, I just needed him to save the day. Like, I need you to save the day. You couldn't, like, it's like you know how you think back to when you were a little girl? Or with your dad, like I said, he was like the perfect dad. Perfect. Played with us, fixed our bikes. He was the neighborhood dad. And we had that point, you know, where I told you I would, you know, my parents had gotten divorced or whatever. And it was like all I needed, in my mind, I'm thinking, all I needed for you to do was to fix this for me. Save my son. Save our son. That was the first time I had seen Brian cry. And I ain't seen him cry no more. Even after that, before or after, that was the only time I have seen him cry like that. And period. And I was praying, and I was even throughout, I was praying, and I was holding on to hope, and I was praying to God. And I'm like, you know, God, I know you're not going to put me through this. I just knew that. I'm not going to lose a child at 26. Or was I 26 yet? Yeah, I was. I was 26. You know, I know this isn't happening.
Right, yeah.
But it did. And that right there, it silenced me. It silenced me. And when I say silent, I mean literally silenced me. I stayed in the house. You know, we had to take care of whatever. You know, his mom was spending a lot of, at this point, you know, we were staying with my mother because we were in transition. We was moving out of the apartment. And during that time, we were finding a house. So I'm in school. We're trying to find a house because we got a new baby. You know, we're trying to do all that so we can get, you know, man, all this going on. So his mom was spending a lot of time over there because it was her and my mom handling everything. You know, and which was comforting to have them in the house and have them support us, you know, and him comforting me. But then I remember after the funeral, I kind of snapped again. And I couldn't even deal with the children that were alive, the two that we had. I couldn't I couldn't face them. I couldn't deal with them because I felt, I don't know what I felt, Mo. I don't know. I know I you know how you heal, but you still hurt from it. You know, it can make you cry, whatever. And that's what's happening now. I snapped and I started to blame. Well, it's okay. So a few days after we buried our son, Brian was having a birthday. Okay. And they did throw, they did throw, and I see why, to kind of lighten up the mood, just kind of focus our attention somewhere else. And they had a little house party at one of his family members, you know, which was good and everything. And then I remember I went back out. I don't know if I went inside the house and came back out, but I remember just sitting in the car because I could not get over that. Just a couple of days ago, we just buried our baby, our first child together. And I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I'm a mom who was pregnant, has nothing to show for it. Child is gone. And I remember his aunt coming out there, and we're close to, you know, talking to me. But before that, I had kind of got upset because his mom came out there, and I felt like she made it about her because she made the statement like, it was almost as if she wanted me to get over what I'm going through, just come in the house so she could enjoy her son's birthday. And that's what she said. She was like, I just want to enjoy my son's birthday. And still, this is something that I still need to, you know, I have conversations. There are needed conversations that I need to have with both sides of the family. Which means I need to, you know, with all my family members. That's just bringing that up. You know, but I felt in that moment when she said that, it was like, I didn't say it, but I was thinking it like, how dare you have, you know, like,
right.
You know, like, do you understand that I'm a mom? You are too. I just had a baby, delivered a child who was alive for 2 weeks, who you know, just, you know how you do skin to skin with your babies and stuff? Like, I'm doing that. And then he's gone. Like, you want to enjoy, your son has had 20-something birthdays. And mine didn't get one. Yeah, he was born. But it's like, we just buried him. I can't. So just leave me out here by myself. You know, if you want to think about yourself right now in this moment, like you want me to get over it, I just buried my child. I am supposed to outlive all of my kids. I don't care about your son's birthday, to be honest. What I care about is that I just had my son and he's not here. Yours is. It pissed me off, Mo. It pissed me off. And
I get it, because I mean, I don't know, people personally, but it can be looked at as selfish, unfortunately, and that just wasn't the right time to say, basically, like, get over it, basically. So that's tough.
It was tough. Like, it's still tough to this day, and I'm so emotional because I have not had that conversation with her. I'm just getting on this journey where I'm speaking up for myself. I'm taking up for myself. You know what I mean? Not letting anyone treat me like I'm a pushover. Learning how to balance. And I became a mean girl because of that. So now I'm learning how to balance, not being a pushover, sticking my grounds, but not being a mean girl with it. You know what I mean? I'm learning that. And so at that time, his aunt, one of the aunts that I'm close, because I have good relationships with his family, whatever, but one of his aunts that I'm close to, she was just sitting in the car with me and talking to me about it, and she used the right language and words to say to me at that time, because I ended up getting out of that car with her, walking in that house with her, warming up, got me something to drink, a little wine or something, and I just started dancing, enjoying the party, and just I just again, I'm trying to think about your son's birthday at the same time while I just buried mine. Right. So let me put my feelings to the side. And to be honest, now that I think about it, I didn't have to do that. I don't see myself as being wrong, even if I chose to say, you know what, y'all, I can't. And and that's what I was saying. Like, y'all, I'm hurting here. I wasn't just pouting or whatever. That your first thing is like, I eventually spoke up on how I was feeling. I just didn't sit there all night not speaking. But if I just, I don't feel like I would have been wrong. If I just would have said, if I made the decision to say, you know what, I get it, I understand, but I just really, I can't. I really just want to sit here or do whatever I want. I just can't. I don't want to be sitting around people with, in this energy or whatever. I don't think I necessarily would have been wrong. I needed time. So we went through that, and like I said, afterwards, I snapped, started blaming Brian. Now my attention was, well, why didn't you do something? Why? I mean, it put a strain on the relationship, but then we ended up working through that. Marriage was in the talks, because he had already said, when I first met you and when we were in middle school, he just knew he wanted me to be his wife one day. And all that was coming up, the talks of the wedding. So and then it moved to, we were engaged, and all the wedding planning stuff started while trying to run a household with 2 kids. But in between that time, I had gotten, so let me back up a little bit. So after that situation with losing a child, later that year, because this was 2009, later that year, I ended up getting pregnant again with your girl, with Miss Ken. And ended up getting pregnant with her. And I remember, again, I didn't know I was pregnant. I was going on 3 months, and I would always be sick for like 2, maybe 3 weeks, but it felt like forever. So I was always just sick for like a month from like anywhere. I didn't get sick until like between the 3rd and the 4th month. So I was only sick for that small amount of time. All of my pregnancies were like that. It didn't matter. But it just felt like forever. And I remember, so after Ken was born, we got married. She was like, she was going on 1 when we actually got married. And so we get married and we had planned. I remember we were out working in the yard before the wedding or whatever, sometime before the wedding, working in the yard. And we were talking about it and we was like, yeah, well, Ken, she's getting ready to turn 1. We want to, a playmate for her. Because, you got the 2 older kids. Were they 9? They were 9. So, they had a little gap. This toddler has nothing in common with these 9-year-olds, So we were like, okay, these 9-year-olds luckily got each other. Your child, you had a child, I had a child. Luckily, they the same age and they have each other. You know what I mean? And they got along. They played well. They like sister and brother. And so we talked about it. And so we planned it. We was like, okay, all right, getting married. We're gonna have another baby. We was like, we just praying it was a boy. He was like, just please let it be a boy, because I seem to go back and forth, flip flop, with pregnancies or whatever. And so, we get married. I ended up getting pregnant on my wedding night when we did the dates from when we was like, oh well, you got pregnant that night. So, I'm pregnant. So okay. I'm get pregnant. The pregnancy shows itself, shortly after or whatever. And from that point, Mo, you know what happened. I didn't want it no more. I didn't want to be married. I didn't want to be no mom. The stress, the depression has started to show itself at that point. It was just a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And we went through a lot. Fighting, not physically, just verbally, the arguments. And I think, when I look back, he was dealing with things too that he hadn't dealt with, when you bring in, we bring our baggage. And now we decided to become one. We weren't thinking about our other side because the blissful stage was overpowering all of that. But reality started to set in. I'm like, oh my God, I have these 3 kids and I'm pregnant with 1 and I'm 20. If we were already married, then I was 29. I'm 29 and I basically got 3.5 kids, a husband, a house to take care of. I don't know who I am. I'm somebody's wife. Right. People are not looking at me as Kylan. It's Miss Thomas. They're Miss Brian. When they send things in the mail, it's Mr. and Mrs. Brian, Thomas. It's like, oh my God. What? And then they're calling me mom. Nobody is acknowledging just me as an independent person anymore. And I just lost myself. I lost it. It was one point I had to go stay with my mom and just come in the morning to see my kids off to school. I couldn't. It was so much. I had to get my mental together. And then from there, his sister and brother, they were staying with us for a moment and they caused a lot of stress on me. His mom contributed to that stress. I don't have any ill will against them, because I look at them as my family. They my family, so we're family, right? We gonna start being honest with each other and stop sweeping things under the rug. It was just so much stress, that I had. Yeah. I just had enough on my own that nobody had nothing to do with anybody. So them adding to it was like, I'm about to kill everybody. And that's how I was just flipping out. I was flipping out because I was, me, I like balance in my life. I'm a Libra. And y'all know the balance is the scales. You tip one of them things over, oh, it's over. It is over. I'm like, oh my God, get my balance back right. Don't one going to the right, going to the left. I couldn't deal. And my scales was tipping to where one of them was way up in the air and the other one was on the floor. Down that low. It's like, but I'm strong. So I'm going through this and I have to stay strong and put on the front for the world.
Right. Yep.
And now
it's out of control.
Yeah. And now I'm having these doctors trying to force medication on me, telling me I have, these things. And I'm like, I don't want to be diagnosed with that. Are you kidding me? Like, after the fourth doctor said it, oh yeah, I'm not seeing you anymore either. Like, bye. Bye therapist, bye counselor. After one visit, it took I would say the second, because the first one was kind of like just getting to know each other, and that by that second visit, all of them was saying the same thing, and I'm like, all of y'all are crazy. How about y'all turn around and look at yourself? And look, and while you at it, check them books, because they not straight. Check them books. Girl, I remember going to a therapist's office, and I kept looking at her bookshelf or something, because her books, it wasn't like it was just messy, but it was some books that weren't straight. And I kept looking, and she said, are those, and she finally saw what I was looking at, and she said, are those bothering you? I said, yes, they are. Yes, they are. And she said, well, would you like to go straighten them? I said, I sure, yeah, absolutely. If I'm going to sit in here, because right now I'm distracted. But yeah, to sum it all up, Mo, it was just a back and forth. Good, then the bad, then the good time, then here we go. It was just so much. It was taking a toll. One thing after another. The family grew. Now here come the boy, the baby. I'm like, this is too much. And I remember telling friends and family, like, I don't want to be a mom no more. I don't want to be no wife. And I actually left a couple of more times, like got in the car, left, while your boy B was a baby. I left my family twice. I walked down on them. I walked out. And to be honest with you, and I'm not making an excuse, I probably wouldn't have done that if Brian wasn't the father that he is. If he wasn't the type of father that he is, I probably wouldn't have, to be honest. But I just felt like I'm about to take my chance. I'm gone. I'm out of here. Nobody understands me. Nobody gets it. They're just looking at me like I'm the one with the attitude, and she got an attitude. She mean. She just this. She that. She just being dramatic. This and this and that. That's all it was. Me, I just have an attitude. That's how it was looked at. Not knowing there's more than one underlining issue. Complex.
Right.
Complex. And, I just dealt with it. And then, going through that. And then, now, what? Some years later now, just going through the mess. And now my sister has what? My sister has what? My sister has stage 4 what? I'm sorry. Huh? dealing with teenage crap at this point, at this time. Teenage crap, ripping and running Mo, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was having to bring you into the fold. Like, hey, I need to drop your boy, your girl off with you. They need to come home with you. I'm here. I'm there. You know, Brian's working. He's trying to do this. It was so much. And then I've already been through whatever in my life. And now my sister has stage 4. What? On top of all this mess I'm ripping and running, stage 4. What's that C word you said? Cancer. I'm sorry.
Right.
My 30. I'm sorry. We're in our 30s. My sister is 30. I'm sorry. She has stage 4, you said? Stage 4. Okay. Lost my mind. All this was happening. So, all this was happening. You know, I lost my mind. And then I had to be strong for my family. My family never saw me break down and cry because I didn't want to show them that. I wanted to be strong for my sister. I wanted to be strong for my family. So I had to confide in, you know, people that I could, that I trusted, that would keep my sister's secret because she was ashamed of it. She didn't want that out. Hell, what? Right. No. You know, I'm with her. Yeah, we're going to keep this sick. We're going to keep this close to home as much as possible.
Right.
We don't want that attention. Oh, I'm with you, girl. I'm with you. You know, and then she's telling me, now I got to go get screenings. Now I got to do this. Now I got to start doing this. Okay. All right. Okay. I had gotten to the point where I just started praying. I had to create me a war room, where I just lit candles and drew all over the wall with scriptures and about my sister. Please don't take her away from me. Like, are you serious? You know, and then shortly after that, a couple of years later, now you take, okay, my grandmother's just gone out of the blue. I was just talking to her and not even 2 hours later, she's what? I'm sorry. What was the cause? Because I didn't know she was about to die. Yeah, she was 90 plus years old. But if you saw her, you wouldn't know it. The way she acted, you wouldn't know it. You would probably thought she was, you probably say, she 80. Maybe 80. You'll be like, maybe. If you saw her, you'd probably think she was going on. She looked at the least 10 years younger than what she was. Probably more. Like between 10 and 15 years young. So it just did not look. And I'm just talking to her like me and you talking. And then, I'm sorry, what? Because she was my person. She was the one, as far as my personality and how I am, my ways, you know, my craziness. That was her. I was more like her. Like a lot of traits I have. And I felt like she got me the most. Because of those ways, even though I still have, my mom's mom is still living and we're close as well. But you know, she stayed in Macon, which is not far. It's just an hour away. But my dad's mom, she was 5 minutes away, and she was the one that was always, when I tell you, she played her role and my father's role. She played some parts now. I took that woman through the ringer and back. I don't know how many times. I got on that woman's nerves throughout my lifetime. You hear me? But her love and her care for me never changed. She always saw my potential. Always. It's just I made her tired. Cause to her it's like, here we go again. Cause she wasn't gonna not bail me out or whatever or come to my rescue. So of course that gets on anybody's nerves. It's like, when is this gonna stop? And but she, as I got older, some of that started to die down, but I was still, at the time I was suffering from, those what I call challenges now. I'll just say my little challenges. But she, that took the life out of me. It was bad enough that we lost a we only knew him for 2 weeks, but I carried him, grew some type of relationship while he was cooking. But my grandmother, like, this is someone who helped me cope through life. And now she's gone, and what the hell do I do now, Lord? Huh? What do I do now? What you got for me now? Because right now, what you giving me, I ain't liking. I ain't feeling it. Cause you ain't I ain't got, my daddy done left me. Then my best boyfriend I had, he broke my heart back then. Then you put me in this relationship with this abuser. Then this sir comes along with his crap. And then and then my sister with cancer. And then, I'm sorry. It's like, I'm over you.
Just back to back.
Yes. I was over talking about God. Yeah, I'm over you. I'm over you, bro. I'm over you. That's how I felt at that. I'm over you. Because I'm sick of it. So I became the devil's best friend. One of them, because he has plenty. So I became one of them. Right? And that's how it started. I just literally, I became, you talking about a mean girl. Mo, you've been knowing me for the past, what is it? 8.5 years? 8 years? We just gonna say 8. What, the boys are 10? They've been knowing each other since 3.
3, what's that, 7? Yeah.
Well, it's been over 7. So okay, we're approaching 8. We're approaching 8 years. So that's our friendship has, that's a long time. We about to hit on a decade after a while. And it's like, you saw how and what happened? You didn't hear from me for a while. And I was I flipped out, and then you didn't hear from me for a while. And then the pandemic happened. And I say that was a blessing and a curse at the same time, because I got sat down. Sat down. He sat my behind down and forced me to look at myself. I was going through it when that happened, because remind you, with that pneumonia, I had caught, pneumonia, and how I felt, being in the hospital with that and just going through that. When COVID came out, I went into panic. Like, I felt like if somebody walked past me, oh my God, I got it. Because I was so scared, because when they told me that I got caught pneumonia from the community, I'm afraid. And Brian, and then Brian's anxiety came out. His stuff he started to have to face himself. So can you imagine what that household was like in the beginning of 22, where they had come to?
Right.
And we thought we had it bad before? Oh, no, ma'am. He was like, "You're not going back to that job. You ain't going back up in there. No, you're not going back up in there." And then I'm like, because I don't like to walk out on stuff. You know me, I got the, if I exit, it got to be the right traditional way. I'm going through that. I'm like, I can't abandon my job. But I'm scared at the same time. Girl, I was a mess. I was a mess at that. The first time in my life, I could not make decisions for myself. I could not make decisions. It was like I went into, that's when it hit, and I think that was my last and final breakthrough that woke me up, because during that time I was in that bed. I mean, like what you see on TV. I was in that bed. That's when I started contemplating just going ahead and asking for that papers to sign off for me to get up on out of here. I'm gonna put it like that.
Yeah, it brought us to that.
Yep.
I get it.
I was on medications. The doctors, at that point, the doctors had put me out because the anxiety started affecting my body with the diarrhea. I mean, it was physically affecting me. It was a done deal. And while I was in the bed going through that suffering, you know, I was telling my doctors too, I'm about to get up on out of here. I was vocally telling people. I didn't keep it in silence. I didn't do any of that. I was vocal about it with my doctor. I'm about to get up out of here because these humans are getting on my nerves. They're all about themselves. I'm tired of people living lies. I'm tired of people, and when I say people, I'm talking about within my family. I'm not, just what was going on in the world was bad enough, and now it's like, I'm out of here. I'm done. Go on and take me on with my grandma, cause I'm done, and the rest of my family that's up there with you. But I'm mad at God and talking about I'm about to join him at the same time. I was just, and I remember looking over at that nightstand and like, I'm about to take these. That's how I'm going to do it. I'm about to overdose on this medication. I mean, I was just, my mind was just racing. And I remember when I started thinking like that, I remember every time I would go to sleep, I would have these dreams of my funeral. And I could never see myself in the casket. But the casket was there, the family was there, but I could never see me. Like any pictures, I never saw myself in a dream, period, at all. But what I saw was a casket and how my family was breaking down, how my mom was breaking so bad. And I think I was being shown that because it's like, if you do that to yourself, look at what you're going to do to others. Look what you're going to cause. And I had to have that dream for a few times. I'm not going to lie. And one day I woke up and I just saw life different. Like a snap. Like somebody hypnotized you and just snapped. That's how it happened. I woke up because I was praying, God, why me? I would call my mom. Where did I get this stupid brain from? This stupid brain, depression. And I was taking laxatives so I wouldn't gain weight because I was doing the other method at first, but my throat started hurting. I was like, oh no, I'm not gonna hurt my throat. I don't want to be. So I went to laxatives because I've always been afraid of being heavy. I just, gaining weight. And at the last job, I gained over 30 pounds because all they did was they fed you in the break room. They, in healthcare, you got your full course meal. I'm talking about down to the dessert, the ice, the forks, the knife, the spoon. You had I'm talking about full course meal, okay?
Wow.
And doing all that sitting, and I didn't realize that I had gained that much. I knew I did, but that sent me into a depression. It was just so much that I hid from people. I never spoke about, because people put me on this high, they capped my head up, basically. Like, you're strong and this. So I felt like I had, I couldn't let people know, that they're diagnosing me with OCD and anxiety, bipolar depression, and an eating disorder. What? No, absolutely not. You're not gonna know. Nope. And then I went through a point where I didn't feel like I just didn't feel like I was strong. And I was like, maybe I think that of myself because that's what everybody keeps telling me. I went through that too. But at the end of the day, like I said, one day that all changed. I stopped asking why, and I knew why, because I had to go through it to start helping other people. And here I am today, speaking up.
He came out. That's all.
And
he came out and still coming out,
Yep. And Brian and I, we are, making sure our relationship, independently. My relationship is keeping that close relationship to God, him keeping that close relationship to God. We went into a separation, while living in the same home, not like on paper, but over this past holiday, we were separated in the home. And I was, I thought, you think that when you go through, you awaken to, you're seeing the light now, you're in this blissful stage, and you're ready to take on life because you're seeing things different. But I didn't know about the journey, girl. I didn't realize the journey had its ups and downs, and that shadow work and facing yourself and learning how to do things differently. I did not know that it was just the beginning. And when God ripped me, right, and he ripped me from that office job and said, no more, baby, time to go. When I told y'all about that, it's time to go, darling. Bye-bye. Come get your stuff. You've seen what you needed. Come get your stuff that was in the attic, honey, and let's go. Time to go. You're not about to get your little FMLA what was it? I know you want to work, but you're not about to work here. You're not about to do this anymore. I need you to follow your path now. It's time for you to start helping others in a way, because you were doing it here at this job. I heard you, how you were talking to patients. Yeah, I heard you. I already knew what you was going to say before you did. I knew it. You was doing it there on the phone, talking to them, coaching them through this and whatever. That's why they took to you like that. That's why they said you were nice nasty, because you put them in their place without sugarcoating it, but yet you remain respectful. You might have talked stern to them, but it was out of compassion and sympathy. You know what I mean? You're doing it. So now I need you to get up on out of here. Take your own advice. Take your own advice. Well, you sit up here talking to other people, you practice what you preach, and go apply it to your life. And I need you to shine. I need you to be that light. But guess what, honey? I need you up out of this job because we got work to do. You about to come. You think you confronted yourself? You ain't confronted yourself yet. Watch this. I'm about to strip that ego all up out you.
Right. Yep.
And I went through that, and you see, we came back together. Brian and I at the beginning of the year, and we both agreed that we needed those few months apart, to work on ourselves, to really see, to get with each other, you know, just to get each other, period. Like, what we were arguing about, it was he needed whatever from me, I needed whatever from him, but we couldn't give it to each other until we did the work on ourselves. I could not give him the rest of what he needed from me, and he couldn't. I was giving some stuff to him, you know what I mean? He was giving, but you know, as you get older, priorities change, things start changing. Your outlook, you know, you want certain things in life, certain things need to be done, certain conversations need to be had. Well, my brain was too strapped with nonsense to even be able to think about my next chapter. You know what I mean? So we couldn't give each other what we both needed from each other until we worked on ourselves. And not to say everything, we still have our little, you know, it's kind of funny now because I'll say, if I see him doing something and I know that he doesn't apply to himself, I'll say, oh, you know, Brian sure knows how to tell somebody else how to whatever, but he sure ain't doing it himself, you know. And he does it back. And if I'm having a bad day, let's say I'm on some low vibration stuff for a hot minute until I pray and get myself back on track. Because it happens. We human, right? Girl, he'll go, girl, he'll tell me a little something and go on about his business. And then he'll say, like, I couldn't have you in my energy. Hell, you was on that mess for a minute. Bye. And he won't. And it's vice versa. But we know now. I don't blame him for not entertaining my nonsense. He doesn't blame me for not entertaining his nonsense. Bye, boo. Gone. You handle that. Gone. You're not going to bring that low vibration up around here. You know? So, here we... Well, I'm glad we have... this was a good little series. You know, it's all about, you know, just whatever you're called to do. You have to be silent, you know, listen to God. So, when I say silent, you know, we do a whole lot. I got to do this. I got to do that. And if you're so busy and things are so loud, you can't hear when God is trying to talk to you. Like, yo, hey, remember me, Big G?
Right.
Hello?
For real.
I mean, you got free will and all, but I'm just tapping you a little bit to see what's, you know, I'm just checking in a little bit, but go on about your business. You know, if that's what gone, I was just checking, you know, I was just checking back, following up.
Right.
You know, like, just start. We're so afraid. I was afraid of starting this podcast. I don't know anything about a podcast. I still don't know everything. I don't know. Find a platform, talk, share, be brave, be honest, be your authentic self. Let's go. Let's share. Let's help. Let's heal. Let's talk. Like, what else do you want from me? I ain't got nothing but the truth, Mo. I ain't got nothing but the truth.
That's all you can have. Shoot. That's your best thing.
So...
That's the best thing you can have.
Yeah. And learning. And I learned a lot from you too. You know, this past weekend was a great example. I mean, it was to the point where I turned my head from the people you were talking to. I'm like, oh my God. Everybody's getting checked. Everybody's getting checked. Everybody's getting checked. Oh my God. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. I can't look at the grown people because she's checking them. I can't.
When it comes to my money, it's a whole different story.
Mo. You talk about, you talk about the Savage Club. That's some real savage stuff right there. And I mean that in a good way, because you have to be able to put both feet down, 10 toes down, and just stand firm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not care what other people think. And I mean that in a positive way. Of if you're doing right and you're not bothering anyone, you're not hurting anybody, directly. Sometimes we do stuff we don't know. We're not trying to hurt you, but people take things differently, but you're, for the most part, you're just living an honest life, and you're doing what you need to do. You're comfortable, you're a good person. Like, come on now, like, worrying about what somebody got to say.
Right. Mm-mm. And at this point, honestly, that's about the least of my worries, what somebody gonna say. And again, especially when it comes to me spending money. So, you can't let nobody just run over you when you spending your money. Cause that's what you work for. So,
right.
Sometimes people just don't think of that when they just, when they really not paying attention. It's just like, whatever. And they don't think about that.
Exactly.
And especially if you ain't saying nothing about it. So.
Well, that's what we're here for. That's what we're going to be talking about, as we grow. Because the main purpose is is to help people through, that fear. We've all been there, and not to say it might not come up again. It's a situation you might face, and you got to have, give yourself that pep talk, like, oh, God got you. God is for me. If God is for me, who's against me? I give myself that pep talk, like, oh, God, I got God on my side. Yeah, okay. I got my army. So I'm going to win. I don't have a choice. That's the talk I give myself. I'm going to win at the end of the day. On default. Because of, when you, like I said, if you try to live the honest life, you have that relationship with God, that close relationship, and you do right. But the thing about it is, people don't need to get it twisted with honest people out here. Just because they not running up in your face, starting drama and all that, does not mean the little old nice person won't check you. Okay?
Right.
So, just don't get it twisted, because it'll be that nice nasty come out. Get you checked real quick. And then they'll sit back, start talking to the Lord, and they be all good. I'm just saying. They be all good.
Real quick. And, I don't even want to go into that conversation on this podcast. That's for
another one. Right. We'll say that for another day. So, but anyway, it's always good talking and letting things out. But yeah, we're gonna wrap the show up right here. But as far as last little tidbits for this evening, you want to share something, just to leave off with,
for this overall
food for thought.
Overall, to wrap this one up, just really for a person, you just got to stand up for yourself once you have come through with what you dealt with. Overall, stand up for yourself once you've actually learned the lesson and see it for your own eyes. and just stand up for yourself and, you know, really learn how to say no, speak up for yourself. Don't let people just walk all over you. I think that's about the best thing after any lesson learned that you could take away from this series.
Right. I agree. I agree. I definitely agree. We you know, we go through things in life for a reason, and you know, and it's to not to discredit anyone's feelings or what someone, you know, what another individual has put you through at all, because that still needs to be acknowledged. You know, no, you know, we could say, you know, if it wasn't for them, you know, I wouldn't be where I am today. I thank them because I learned some things. Yes. And, you know, we go through things in life, you know, for a reason. And I'm a big, strong believer in that. However, like I mentioned, that does not discredit how, you know, that situation or individual made you feel throughout that time. But when you take those lessons and you apply it to something good, and like I said, going within yourself, learning who you are as an individual, you know, and not judging someone else, you know, not trying to take away from someone else, learning how to come together with other people, and throwing those egos away. I posted something not too long ago about basically, hello, you know, have you not gotten the memo? You know, egos are played out, right? You know they play it out. You do know that.
Right.
They play it out. They gone. People are putting them in the trash. Nobody's wearing those anymore. Who's wearing egos? Who's wearing egos? I'm not. I don't want to put that on. You know? So I agree 100% with you, Mo. Just stand up for yourself while you're doing it. Be a light, help people, and that helps you to feel good, you know, and make sure you're taking care of yourself, because you can't help anybody if you're not helping yourself. You have to take time out for yourself. Self-care is what's up. Okay, that's what's in. Leave the egos at the door and bring that, you know, bring in that self-care, self-love, self-respect. Because when you have that for yourself, you'll start to know and recognize who you are, and you will value yourself more. And I'm not talking about valuing like getting this again in the egotistic way. Humble yourself. But when I say value, meaning you're not going to allow people to come into your space and just disrespect you. You know, create those healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries. You know, everyone should have that for them. Don't let people just tell them what's going to happen and that's the end all be all. No, it's not.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And you have to earn respect to get respect. It's not just, you know, you can't just go out here doing what you want to and what you please if it's, you know, gonna affect other people. We gotta think about that. We do have to think about our actions. Again, you stand up for yourself. You know what I mean? Take pride in yourself. Take pride in yourself. Take pride in your things. You know?
Yep.
Learn how to...
Please believe people will see that and prey on that and use that as your weakness and run all over you.
Mm-hmm. And that's when it comes, that's when that standing up for yourself, 10 toes down, both feet comes into play. So let's start you know, treating one another better out here. Let's start helping one individual at a time. I tell you, you go tell somebody else. That somebody else goes tell somebody else. You know, keep it moving. Let's get that going on. It's too much hate and violence out here for what? I don't really understand it, but you know, what I do know, and I had to get realistic. You can't help everybody. You can't. I'm not going to be able to.
That's right. That's right. You can't help everybody.
Right.
As much as you would like to, you can't help everybody, unfortunately.
But we going to help who we can. And who will listen and who wants it. Because I can bring you to the water all day. I can bring a lot of folks to the water. But you got to pick up, go get that cup and drink it. What's wrong with you? Don't be scared. Just go. Just dive into it. But, all right. It's always fun, you know, having these talks. But more importantly, it's therapeutic. But yeah, this will be the end of, this is the last show for this series. This is part 4 of this series, and we will be starting with fresh new topics and content. You know, we're just talking, we're just having conversations, and we need to do more of it. But until then, it's always a pleasure. We are going to get out of here, wrap things up, and until next time, love, peace, and light. Good night, everyone.
Good night.